Well, it's nearly 18 months now since I retired, and after the cut and thrust of previously on Orange City Council, then in State Parliament, it's a job and a half if you're going to do the job even half properly. It's a job and a half. You're there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, on call, and not that we work that long all the time, but you have to be prepared to when the necessity is there. So I suppose after all that cut and thrust since virtually my teenage years right through being a farmer and working night and day when necessary, the novelty of just getting up each day and what am I going to do today, and I'll do some more gardening and going to the gym and keeping reasonably fit. I suppose the novelty of all that wore off after a little while, and it's been the last few months, especially when the media started talking about the council elections on the 8th of September. I thought, oh, well, maybe I need to get back into something, and more importantly, need to start contributing back into the community again.
I mean, do you look forward to a really big challenge, or are you looking for something that you can do part-time?
Well, it'll be part-time. When you've been working 60, 80 hours a week all your life, we spend 20 or 30 hours a week down at council. That, as far as I'm concerned, is still part-time, and that'll leave me still enough time to do my little passion with my garden out at Clifton Grove, looking after the grandkids, and occasionally take my wife on a holiday still. So I'm hoping that there'll still be time for all those other things that I have been doing, but to a lesser degree.
Do you think that Australian society generally needs us at the moment, people of our age, our mature years, who in the past would have retired and that was that?
Well, I think everyone acknowledges that the lifespans are increasing, and I've been fairly fortunate genetically that I'm still quite healthy. I'm even going trekking in Peru in October and climbing to Machu Picchu, and so I see that as a challenge. And as a bit of a trial run yesterday, I just ran up top of Mount Canobolas, and so yes, I'm looking after myself a little bit as well, but genetically I've been very, very lucky. And as I've often said, if it was up to myself and my wife, actually, all the chemist shops in Orange would be broke, and that's a great way to be, and I'd like to keep it that way, and yes, I hope I've got a good 20 years left in me.
Is there anything about this particular election at this time that has drawn you out? Anything politically? Is there anything you're really concerned about?
There's nothing really politically. There's more the projects that are in the pipeline in Orange, and pardon the pun on the pipeline, because that's one of the big issues, and I'd like to see that through to fruition, because whilst I've been sitting on the sidelines somewhat, I've kept an eye on things, and we all know, we need to be reminded of how close we went to really just about running out of water in the last drought. And that must not happen again. If this city is to continue to grow and have the confidence of business, and we're trying to get industry into town, because we don't want to be reliant on Cadia. It's been a great benefit to Orange, as has the health service and as has the growing Charles Sturt University. But we need to continue to diversify our jobs as much as possible, so that if one does fall over, we keep going. Because I've been in Orange long enough now that when I first arrived back in 1973, if Electrolux at the time went on strike, the town stopped, because it was the biggest employer and they were employing something like 1,500 people at that stage. The town stopped, the taxi stopped, everyone stopped, because Electrolux had gone on strike.
You've mentioned specifically that you'd like to see Orange as a city of, say, 60,000 people. Mm-hmm. Do you also feel, or do you also think that maybe when we have a city of 60,000 people, we're no longer going to have that kind of lovely, idyllic, rural lifestyle and atmosphere to the city, that we'll lose that?
I think we'll retain it somewhat. Like when I arrived in town, the population was only about 25,000. Now it's acknowledged as being close to 40,000. And I think we've still got that rural lifestyle, yet we've got all the attributes of a major city. And I think we need to keep that sustainable growth in place, encourage new families to come into Orange, and equally as importantly, to make sure there's a range of employment opportunities for our young people so that when they complete their education, we don't lose them out of town. We want them to stay, as well as having young families.
You've also mentioned in particular the issue of Anson Street and the new project for the Woolworths car park. And you mentioned that for 30 years that Anson Street area has needed upgrading. Tell us more about that.
Well, last time when I was on council, that the option of closing off Anson Street or turning it into a half mall, that subject came up, and then it just slowly went away again. For the last 30 years we've talked about double-decking the Woolworths, so-called Woolworths car park, and we must remember it's a council car park, it doesn't belong to Woolworths, but it's just commonly referred to as that. We've been talking about it for 30 years, and I think it's got to the stage that we need to do something, and we need to take that whole area on to the next generation, the next couple of decades. And whilst this project at the moment is fairly fanciful in some people's eyes, we've got to start somewhere, and ultimately what we will end up with is a development that a developer sees as being viable with the cooperation of council. We may not end up with the planned 7 or 8 stories of multi-use. All that will work out over the next couple of years of negotiations, but I've also said we need that development there, but let's get Anson Street right in conjunction with that development at the same time.
Will you be running alone, or will you be running a Nationals ticket?
I won't be running a Nationals ticket at this stage, and I'm in negotiations today and all this week on what form of ticket I will be running on. But I've always been against the increasing politicisation of local government. When I was on council previously, it wasn't there. Everyone knew how the councillors voted, but it wasn't political. It might have got a little bit political when we came time to elect the mayor, but that was about the only time. We then voted on every issue on its own merits, not politically like it is unfortunately today. So everyone knows I'm a national, but I won't be running on a Nationals ticket.
Do you feel that you'll be able to work quite closely and quite cooperatively with these people in council?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, there'll be some disagreements. The same as there's been violent disagreements and mild disagreements in state parliament whilst we're in opposition, and the government, they'd have major disagreements, mostly in the party room, which is where it should be, and most of the disagreements down at the council would be, I would hope, outside the chamber. There's going to be obviously some diverse opinions, but one would hope that at the end of the meeting everyone agrees to not necessarily love each other, but to get on with each other for the betterment of the community.
In a perfect world, if you and John Davis are both re-elected to council, we would have two people who are very experienced in bringing state and federal money into this area, into Orange. Do you feel that that could be? Do you think that that could be a viable situation?
I would hope so. I think John and I, John's in business, I have been in business. I would like to think that we can use our experience and the contacts that we have to both work within the council to make Orange City Council a better, more smoothly run. We've got to make sure that we work in with the staff, because it's a vital link, the councillors and the senior management within the council as well. And I believe there's been, there has been a little bit of disruptive behaviour in that line over the last couple of years. But no, I'm mature enough, and I'm sure John is mature enough. He stood against me in state parliament, but we respect each other as people. We respect each other as far as both of our capacities, and I'm pretty sure, and I'm not speaking for John, but I'm pretty sure he would say much the same thing, that if we are both elected, that we will work in as much as we possibly can with each other to make sure of the advancement of Orange.